This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Time to talk with Alyssa Orange from Pig Trail Nation, and we always appreciate some of Alyssa's time on these Tuesday afternoons. Hi, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Doing great. I've had this conversation about social media involving Sam Pittman and the Arkansas football players. I would imagine that there might not be a more toxic place than Twitter for women who work in sports. So I just wonder, you don't have to go through the experiences that you've had, but, I mean, it is a really toxic place, and I would imagine you know that firsthand.
Yeah, I think so. I think there are people that can be cruel, and those people get more out of it than you get reading it, you know. And I think that as long as you stay level-headed, and what do they always say? Don't read the comments, right? But it's a lot harder to do when people are tagging you in things or have things to say. And I think it was Kiro Small who called them keyboard warriors when we were talking to him just about people who say stuff on social media. And that was back in 2013 and 2014 when he was at Arkansas. So this is not new. It's just gotten worse over time. And it's real. And for people who say that it's not, I challenge you to talk to other athletes who have gone through this. I have seen the comments and reposts from Scooter Harris. I have seen them from Brooks Ellis that, you know, even Scooter's was like, this is for real. I wish someone would have listened to me my last 2 years of football in college.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. Alyssa, do you think this is the beginning of the end for Coach Pittman, or do you think this is a come-together moment for this University of Arkansas Razorback football team?
Well, I would hope that it's a coming-together moment. You know, I think that social media, mental health, those kind of things have been talked about a lot from other coaches, but not on the platform like Sam Pittman has. And so for him to say something like this, it might be, not that they needed any kind of motivation, I don't think, but it might be exactly what this football team needed to hear from their head coach. And maybe he wasn't speaking to the media. It was also a message to his team. I got to listen to the speech he gave after the loss to LSU. And it was emotional and heartfelt and angry and upset. And I think that this team needed a little bit of that, and we'll see what happens afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, he has passion. There's no denying that Coach Pittman loves this Razorback team, and he has passion, and he's given effort.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if there was a but there, so I was waiting. And that's absolutely it. I mean, I just listened to Andrew Armstrong's podcast, and he just talked about how different Sam Pittman is and how much he loves that out of his head coach, and how the players view him and how his staff views him is, quite frankly, the only thing that matters to him. And winning matters and success matters. And so as much as passionate as you can be, as dedicated and loving and real as you can be, we all know that this industry also moves the needle with wins. And so can they be in line under Sam Pittman? That's the question.
Ooh, a new podcast to listen to. So Andrew Armstrong has a podcast. Does he talk about chemistry with... It's his what?
It's his hog pod that I just...
Oh, all right. I thought it was a personal podcast.
Mm-hmm. No, it would be pretty cool if he had a personal podcast, so I'd listen to that too.
Plenty of athletes do.
It's probably part of his NIL deal, huh? You know,
Absolutely.
Do a podcast, do that stuff, and it's how. And that's kind of, I guess, what the question is, Alyssa, is with all these players, NIL being social media, it's just part of their life. And then Coach Pittman not going to have social media anymore. Do you think it affects the way he recruits or any of his relationships? And to your point, it's all about the wins. As long as we get W's, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think that Sam Pittman has been around the game long enough to know where he was selling himself, who he was as a coach, who he is as a man with his players long before social media existed. And so if that stays stays consistent, I don't see it hurting recruiting. I think that you can do recruiting in other ways. Arkansas has their own platform. All their assistant coaches who choose to have social media can have social media. And quite frankly, if you play for a coach specifically because they have a Twitter, then I don't know if you're playing the game for the right reason.
Yeah, I don't think we want you here at Arkansas if that's your reason. I agree with you.
Alyssa, we've had a lot of callers or texters say that they think Arkansas can win every game for the remainder of the season. And truthfully, I think a lot of those people, if they were given the chance to say that a month ago, wouldn't have said that. And a lot of it has to do with that Alabama just looks more beatable than they have since Saban's first year. And so does Ole Miss, and so does the rest of the SEC West. And I think you just played the best team in the SEC West. You got to go one at a time, of course. But I kind of live in that world too right now. I'm not saying they're going to win every game left, but I think they got a chance to actually pull something like that off. They could do it.
They did. And if they play the way that I watched them play down the stretch at LSU, I stand by that even further. They got better as that game went on in terms of just execution and rhythm, and the defense wore down. I understand that. The defense was really, really good, and they just wore down towards the end. And what we saw from the offense, going toe-to-toe with Jaden Daniels in that offense and holding their own like that, they can have success against anybody. And you're absolutely right. A&M is beatable. Ole Miss is beatable. Alabama has weaknesses that you can take a look at and try to exploit. I mean, this is an Arkansas team. The last time they went to Tuscaloosa, held their own and could have beaten Alabama had certain things gone certain ways. So this is wide open, and I think that they can have success and still have a winning record and still make a good bowl game, but they have to play the way that we saw them play when they were at their best against LSU.
I loved how Dominion ran the ball, man, falling forward and keeping us in third and manageable. We were 8 of 13. I love the game Coach Enos called. I thought he did a brilliant job. And even if we get a penalty, we got to go for 2 from your own 7 and still able to get the 2-point conversion. Give me a grade. How would you grade these 2 coordinators on their first 4 games as Arkansas Razorbacks?
Yeah, I would give Dan Enos probably a B. You know, I think that certain things should have gone certain ways. Maybe certain calls should have gone certain ways against BYU. And for Travis Williams, I mean, considering what he took in and the things that he had to stress from the beginning, which was communication, aggressive defense, and taking a pass defense that was at the bottom of college football a year ago. What he's done in 4 games has been impressive. You know, it's hard to give him an A+ because they've lost 2 of those games. But at the same time, you're seeing this defense play aggressive, play smart football for the most part. And so I would probably give him a B+ just because of what he's been able to do on the offseason with this defense.
Let's see. Basketball practice has started. Both the men's and women's teams are now, 5 weeks away from the 5 or 5.5, 6 weeks away from the start of the regular season. You had a lot of expectations for Muss's team. I think the thought is for the women's side that the SEC might still be a little too stacked to break through at the top, but it's a really interesting group that Mike has for the women's team. It's the only program in the SEC that didn't bring in any Division I transfers. And yet they got taller. They got a great freshman class that came in and a JUCO. So, I mean, really, it feels like the sky's the limit for the men's team, and it does feel like the women's team should improve upon last year.
And I think one thing, you know, when you say that what he's doing with the women's side, it's not for lack of not wanting to go get anyone. I know that he's made comments of like, look, there were really shiny, pretty things that were in the transfer portal that we could have easily gone and gotten. But what message does that say to someone who continues to develop in Jersey Wolfenbarger and someone who continues to develop in Miriam Dowda? I decided to invest in them instead of bringing someone in. And that's what he did with his team. He looked at the roster and said, okay, this is what we need. And he felt like he had a strong enough team with the freshmen he was bringing in to be okay. And I appreciate that. Not every philosophy is like that, but that's how Mike felt the best team he could put together, and that's what that looked like. As for Muss, I have to learn everybody's name again. I know who Devo Davis and Trevin Brazil are, and Jalen Graham. I got to do some studying and some learning, but that's just Muss's formula and what he does. And they're going to be really talented, too. I'm excited to see them in the red-white game coming up, and they've got that exhibition charity game with Purdue, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. But, I think that this is an exciting time for Muss. It is a determining time for Mike Neighbors in a sense of the women's program and making a mark in the SEC and what he does with this program and where they end at the end of the year. I think there's a lot of eyeballs looking at that women's team to see where they stack up when it's all over.
All right, I kind of know what your answer will be here, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about one of your three teams. And we bring up every once in a while, but you're only going to talk about one of them today. We're doing everything else on Arkansas. You can pick which team of yours, that one of them that's going to the playoff, but I don't think is going to get very far. The other one just set a modern-day NFL record, and the other is an undefeated college football team. Take your pick.
Well, that's funny because that's very similar to what Saul asked me last week. He said if you were watching the Dodgers, the Seminoles, and the Dolphins all on one screen, but you could only listen to sound on one, who would it be? My answer was Miami. I have been a long, lifetime Miami Dolphins fan, and I have lived and breathed Aqua and Orange since I was little. And so for me, the Dolphins having the success, they are so fun to watch, putting up 70 points last week. It's something that, I am enjoying watching the Dolphins again when I get a chance to, because obviously I'm working on Sunday, but it is fun. And if it continues this way, if they stay healthy, it's going to be a really fun ride through the AFC and through the NFL this year. So, Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. They run the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen.
I was telling you, Alyssa, that A-Chain, that running back was the best pick in the draft there. I think he's looking like the rookie of the year if he can stay healthy. And then Tyreek Hill, man, how good is that dude?
Cool, I'm telling you, and I guess Devin came out and said my name is Devin H-Chan. Now, I guess we've been saying it wrong, but then he had a big game.
I thought it was acne the whole time. I was saying it, yeah.
Well, whatever his name is, regardless that he went to Texas A&M, I am happy that he is on the Dolphins roster. And, Tyreek Hill, what did he score in the first 14 seconds of the game or something like that last week? It's incredible to watch him. He makes grown, talented defensive players look silly sometimes.
So and that's hard to do. It's A-Chain, not A-Chain, right? Is that it? A-Chain.
A-Chain?
It's Rookie of the Year. Let's call him Roy.
C-H-A. Yeah. C-H-A-N. Atchin? I don't know. I have no idea.
Sooner or later, just pronounce it cha-ching because he's going to make plenty of it.
That guy.
Thanks, Alyssa. Right, exactly. Always appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. BetOnline, where the game starts.